I am an international human rights lawyer, and I've been working on the International Criminal Court and international criminal justice issues for over a decade. I just wanted to use this opportunity to share some thoughts on International Criminal Justice Day and some of the milestones that I think the ICC have achieved over the last year and some things they may need to think about going forward. But firstly, I would like to pay tribute to the thousands of victims of international crimes whose resilience and courage in the face of unspeakable atrocity just continues to inspire me. There have been many milestones recently. We can think immediately of the decision to launch investigations in the Afghanistan situation or in the Myanmar situation. But I would like to look more closely at something that is not as topical more recently, but that is nevertheless important, and that is the Darfur situation. The situation in Darfur, Sudan, was referred by the United Nations Security Council to the ICC in 2005. Arrest warrants were subsequently issued in 2009 and 2010 for Sudanese President Omar al-Bashir and several other suspects. What is interesting is that President al-Bashir completely disregarded the ICC. As far as he was concerned, it's a political vehicle and he will have nothing to do with it. And he blatantly and openly traveled in full disregard for the arrest warrants. Some states, in fact, some were states parties to the ICC, did not arrest him because of their perception of Article 98 of the Rome Statute and, conflicting views about waiver of immunity and so on. The point is that in April 2019, the citizens of Sudan had had enough, and al-Bashir was ousted by a citizen-led, and many of them were women who were at the forefront of this revolution. His ousting has now paved the way for a trial before the International Criminal Court. And although there have been charges brought against him at the domestic level for other crimes, the question is, will he be brought to the ICC? And there are encouraging signs that he will be transferred. When? We don't know. But there is clear dialogue between the court and the current Sudanese regime. What is the important takeaway from the Darfur situation? I would say it is this, that justice delayed is not necessarily justice denied. Everything has a timeline, and the timeline will mean that persons who have eluded justice for many years will still be brought to book, and hopefully President al-Bashir will be one of them. The other important issue looking ahead in terms of how the ICC needs to approach this issue is that the ICC will now need to re-engineer relationships. Firstly, its relationship with the current Sudanese regime. It is a completely different dynamic now. And I'm encouraged by the fact that the prosecutor, for example, when Ali Kushaib, one of the other suspects, was recently surrendered to the court, took up the phone and called the current prime minister. And she describes the conversation as open and helpful. There is now need to ensure that there is a relationship between the current regime and the court while maintaining its independence, because that will facilitate cooperation so that investigations can take place if additional investigations need to happen. Secondly, the re-engineering of the relationship between the ICC and the UN Security Council. Frankly, the UN Security Council was singularly unhelpful during the time that al-Bashir was eluding justice. The Security Council had on several occasions received a directive from the court about non-compliance by certain states in arresting al-Bashir, but nothing was done. The ICC prosecutor spoke on several occasions about the fact that the lack of cooperation was in effect tying her hands and not assisting her. The question now is, what is going to be the role of the UN Security Council in the new future of the Darfur investigations? The third, and what I would arguably say is the most important issue, is the need to reestablish the relationships, or establish, because I'm not sure if there were relationships with all of the potential victims in the Darfuri context. But there is need for relationship between the ICC and the victims of these crimes. A recent report of the International Federation for Human Rights points to the fact that many of the Darfuri victims are refugees along the Chadian-Sudanese border, and they have not even heard of the ICC or that there was an arrest warrant for al-Bashir. What is critical now is for the court to begin to engage and build relationships with these victims to ensure that they are also able to obtain justice. The Darfuri situation is not only relevant in that specific context. Re-engineering relationships is going to have to be the way forward for the ICC. It is going to have to revisit old relationships and build new ones, particularly in this post-COVID-19 era where making physical contact is that much harder. So I hope that International Justice Day will be a time of reflection for the court in terms of how it intends to do that. Thanks very much.